You've used it on shoes, jackets, bags, cables, and maybe even without noticing on furniture or medical gear, but almost nobody ever stops to ask how a simple strip of fabric became one of the smartest inventions ever made, and here's the strange part, it was never supposed to exist. The story begins not in a laboratory, not in a factory, but during a quiet walk in the countryside, the kind of ordinary moment that usually passes without consequence, except this time something annoying happened, the kind of small inconvenience most people brush off without a second thought. Tiny burrs kept sticking to a man's clothes and his dog's fur, and instead of brushing them away and moving on, he asked a question that would change manufacturing, fashion, medicine, aerospace, and daily life forever. Why do these things stick so well? That question sounds simple, but curiosity is the ignition switch of innovation, and what happened next proves that the greatest inventions don't always start with genius, they start with irritation. Most people would have tossed the burrs aside and forgotten about them within seconds, but this man didn't. He took them home. That alone should tell you something unusual was about to happen. Under a microscope, he examined the tiny plant seeds and discovered a hidden engineering masterpiece that nature had perfected long before humans ever thought about fasteners. Each burr was covered in hundreds of microscopic hooks, and those hooks latched onto loops in fabric and fur with surprising strength. It wasn't glue. It wasn't suction. It was mechanical grip at a microscopic level. In other words, nature had already solved a problem engineers had been trying to perfect for decades: how to create a fastener that was strong, reusable, lightweight, and simple. Now imagine explaining to people that you want to reinvent clothing fasteners because weeds stuck to your dog. That's exactly what he had to do, and as you can guess, not everyone took the idea seriously. Early reactions ranged from polite skepticism to outright dismissal. Investors didn't see the potential. Manufacturers didn't understand the purpose. Some even laughed. But here's something history shows again and again: the more revolutionary an idea is, the more ridiculous it sounds at first. Still, he kept going, because once you see a solution hidden in plain sight, you can't unsee it. Years of experimentation followed. Not weeks. Not months. Years. He needed to replicate nature's hook and loop system using synthetic materials, and that turned out to be far more difficult than it sounded. Early prototypes failed constantly. Hooks broke. Fibers tangled. Materials wore out too fast. Machines couldn't manufacture the pattern consistently. At one point it looked like the idea might simply be impossible to produce at scale. And this is where most inventors quit. The difference between forgotten ideas and world-changing ones is usually persistence at the exact moment failure seems inevitable. Finally, after relentless testing, refinement, and engineering adjustments, he succeeded in creating a two-sided fastener, one strip with tiny hooks, the other with soft loops. Press them together and they locked instantly. Pull them apart and they separated cleanly. No knots. No buttons. No zippers. No tying. Just press and stick. It was simple, satisfying, and strangely addictive to use. That tactile rip sound when separating the strips would eventually become one of the most recognizable sounds in everyday life, but at the time, nobody knew what to do with it. Even after the invention worked, another problem appeared: convincing the world it was useful. People didn't like new fastening systems. They trusted what they already knew. Buttons had existed for centuries. Zippers were familiar. Laces were universal. Why switch to something strange and unfamiliar? Adoption was slow, painfully slow. For years the invention existed in a kind of limbo, technically brilliant but commercially ignored. And then something happened that changed everything: a niche industry decided to try it. Once a few specialized users discovered how efficient and reliable the system was, word began to spread. Industries that required speed, reliability, and ease of use suddenly realized this wasn't just a novelty, it was a solution. Medical professionals saw its value for bandages and braces. Designers saw potential in clothing. Engineers saw applications in equipment. And once one sector adopts a tool successfully, others start asking a powerful question: what are we missing? That question is often the tipping point between obscurity and global success. Momentum built slowly, then all at once. The invention that once struggled to find believers suddenly appeared everywhere. Children's shoes replaced laces. Jackets closed instantly. Equipment straps adjusted in seconds. Cables stayed organized. Athletes used it. Soldiers used it. Doctors used it. Astronauts even used it to keep objects from floating away in zero gravity. What began as burrs stuck to a dog had become a fastening system used across industries on a planetary scale. But here's the real twist: the reason this story matters more than most invention stories. The brilliance wasn't just in copying nature. It was in recognizing that nature had already done the hard work. Instead of forcing a new idea into existence, the inventor observed, studied, and translated a natural mechanism into human technology. That mindset is one of the most powerful innovation strategies ever discovered. Don't invent from scratch if nature already solved the problem. The world around us is full of designs refined by millions of years of trial and error. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is pay attention. Think about how many objects you've used today without noticing them. The best inventions don't feel like inventions. They feel inevitable, as if they've always existed. That's when you know something truly succeeded, when it disappears into daily life. This fastening system reached that level. It's so normal now that people rarely think about it. But behind that ordinary strip of material lies decades of experimentation, rejection, persistence, and observation. It's proof that simplicity is often the final stage of complexity. And here's something fascinating: the invention didn't just change products, it changed design philosophy. Suddenly engineers began asking how they could make things easier to use, faster to operate, and more intuitive. Convenience became a design goal, not an afterthought. That shift influenced countless products that came later. In a way, this simple fastener helped spark a broader movement toward user-friendly design across multiple industries. Not bad for something inspired by a plant seed. There's also a psychological reason people love it. Humans are wired to enjoy immediate feedback, and this fastener delivers that perfectly. Press it and you feel resistance. Pull it and you hear that crisp tearing sound. That sensory response makes it satisfying in a way buttons and zippers never were. It's functional, but it's also tactile entertainment. That's why children instinctively play with it, opening and closing it again and again. It turns a practical action into a sensory experience. Today it exists in thousands of forms, strengths, sizes, and materials, adapted for everything from delicate fabrics to heavy industrial equipment. Some versions can hold only a few grams. Others can support massive weight. Some are waterproof. Some resist extreme heat. Some are soft enough for medical skin contact. The original concept remained the same, but its variations multiplied endlessly. That's another hallmark of a truly great invention: it evolves without losing its core idea. What makes this story unforgettable isn't just the invention itself. It's the lesson hidden inside it. Innovation rarely arrives with fireworks. It usually appears disguised as a small annoyance, a minor curiosity, or a question nobody else bothers to ask. The difference between ordinary people and history makers is often just one habit: noticing what everyone else ignores. A walk. A dog. A burr. A question. That's all it took to start a chain reaction that led to a global invention. So the next time you hear that ripping sound when opening a strap or fastening a shoe, remember you're not just using a product. You're interacting with an idea born from curiosity, persistence, and observation. You're witnessing proof that the world's biggest breakthroughs can start with the smallest details. And now I want to know something from you. What everyday object do you use all the time but have never stopped to wonder about? Drop it in the comments because your suggestion might become the next story we uncover. If you enjoy discovering the hidden histories behind ordinary things, make sure you subscribe and hit like so you don't miss the next surprising origin story waiting to be revealed.